All right, well, I want to welcome everyone. This is a Partners for Reintegration presentation on peer support recovery coaches and the legislation that's pending in our legislature. I'm Jana Staten. I'm the coordinator of our leadership team. Some of the rest of our team is here. And this presentation is being recorded by the Missoula Community Access Television as part of an immediate assistance grant. It's donated to Partners for Reintegration by MCAT. For more information, you can visit mcat.org, and I might add that all of our videos are up on their internet after their broadcast, so you can see past sessions as well as this one. So I will turn it over to our panel now, and they will illuminate you.
Yeah. Can everyone hear me? So my name is Lori Pope. I'm a peer support recovery coach. I work for Winds of Change. I've been doing it for just a little bit over a year now. It's been a really great experience. I've learned a lot. I'm a little bit discombobulated now because things aren't working out the way I wanted them to. So the first thing we were going to talk about, Jim was going to talk about what's happening in Helena. We have the Senate Bill number 62. It's to certify peer support as a supervised and, let's see, I'll read what Jim says here. Certification is going to regulate our current and future peer working force. It's going to give us some standardization, so we're not just kind of floating around there without supervision or anything. So why peer support certification? Peer support is an evidence-based practice where one individual shares their lived experience to help another individual get through the path of recovery, through addiction, mental health, people coming back from prison or being locked up. Peer support works for all avenues. I mean, a shared experience in cancer survivor, veterans, I mean, it goes across the board. The state of Montana has been funding peer support since 2007 without regulation, and the standardization of peer services will ensure that the following key qualities. Public safety concerns are addressed, such as professionalism, standardized training, supervision, and continued education for all peer workers. I have gone through 40 hours of the Montana Peer Network 101 basic training. They also offer some trauma-informed care training, which I absolutely loved. I learned so much from there. Workforce development to get it out there and get us all kind of on the same page, so we're not just like freewheeling it. It's to the establishment of a recovery-oriented curricula for peer supporter and behavioral health providers. Peer services are considered a resiliency factor for healthier communities. Will you call him back and see if I'm missing anything?
See if you can hear you.
And a paradigm shift to recovery-oriented service delivery, such as positively impacts the human, social, and financial consequences of untreated serious mental illness and substance use or addiction. Answer the phone, Jim. Hey, so how am I doing so far? Have you heard? Yeah, that's really bad.
Yeah, I'll just.
Okay, I don't think it's going to work with Jim. So, the overall studies have found that social support, it decreases morbidity and mortality rates, increases knowledge of a disease, improves self-efficiency, improves self-reported health status, self-care skills, including medication adherence, reduces use of emergency services. So, about what I do. So I work in a mental health clinic with a lot of co-occurring, which co-occurring is We suffer from addiction, and we have a mental health diagnosis. And that's mainly what my expertise, I guess, is. I work with a lot of different people across the board. I work with people who are just coming out of jail. I work with people who are just coming off the streets or who still are on the streets. I work with people with addiction. I work with people with mental health. And what I have found is that, okay, so when I first got into recovery, this last time I came in with 2 felonies under my belt. And I didn't know how to get by in this world. I didn't know what I was going to do to get housing. I didn't know how I was going to get a job. I didn't know how I was going to make it across the street, because my mind was healing from addiction. I would go to service providers and they would look at me across the desk and be like, who are you? Like, I felt this tall. I felt unworthy. My self-esteem was knocked down. I honestly didn't think I was ever going to make it in this world. And there was one person out of all of these service providers, and I'm talking when we get clean and try and get our life back together, it takes an army. It takes a whole community to get us where we need to be, you know? So out of all of these people that I was trying to communicate with and trying to get help from, one person told me that she believed in me. Up to that point, I was ready to throw my hands up. You know, I was living on the streets. I was trying to stay clean. There was no way I was going to find a job. I couldn't even make it to my appointments on time, right? Because my brain was all wrapped around with a zillion million things going through my head. I was a mess. So again, I met this one lady. I met her at the OPA office. She was my last, my last chance of getting any help from these guys, because I had totally ruined any kind of relationship with all of the other workers there, because I would yell at them or I would be crazy. And this lady decided that she wanted to ignore all that and have some faith in me. And it changed the course of my life. That one person. And from that kind of moment on, when I realized that I could do this, that I could make a productive life, and I could become a part of the community, and the community didn't have to take care of me anymore. That was of March of 2013. So I started getting my stuff together. For the first 6 months or so, I lived in a basement storage facility in a little corner. I had my bed set up in there, and a toilet and a sink and TV and my cat. And I tell you, I was one of the most happiest women alive, because I knew where I was going every night, right? So that allowed me to move forward. I got a job. I'm a big believer in the 12 steps, so I surrounded myself with the recovery community. And my life started to get better. It started to have purpose. I was invited, in my dealings with the justice court, criminal system, I ended up in treatment court with Hannah here. And after I graduated, Hannah came to me and asked me if I would be on an advisory committee, that intercept thing. Mm-hmm. And as I sat there with 45 service providers, judges, police, sheriff, judges, some of the judges that I've yelled at, and then there was me, the only community person in the whole thing. And those service providers listened to me and were interested in what I had to say. That gave me so much confidence, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to share my knowledge. Like, I had found a voice that could help others get through what I barely made it through. Now I'm coming up on 4 years clean. I get to do this amazing job and help other people so they don't have to struggle. Like if I could help one person not have to go through what I went through and made it a little easier to stay in recovery and be productive members of the community, that's a miracle to me. So that's a little bit about what I do. Tomorrow we're going in front of the House of Representatives to push this recovery stuff, and I'm really excited about it. It's like my life has taken on a new purpose, I think. I also want to talk about the training that I received. Montana Peer Network and Jim Haney, they bring these great 40-hour trainings to cities. And this year they had a grant from SAMHSA, which allows them to give some presentation or some trainings free of cost, which is amazing because it's usually a pretty good chunk of money. They're gonna bring it here to Missoula, March 20th through the 23rd. We don't have a location yet, but I will get that out as soon as I know more. I think that there's gonna be 30 slots available for the Missoula area. It's great. Recovery coaching is, so in the 12-step program that I go to, the big thing is one act helping another. Like it's without parallel, right? Like there's no comparison of me talking to somebody who's been where I've been and struggled the same struggles that I've struggled. And that's what peer support's all about. It's one person helping another get through the hell that we have to live through when we're trying to get right. One more thing. I've got some handouts that's going to explain it a whole lot better than my freaking mouth. I'm going to turn it over to Hannah. Hannah is the treatment court coordinator for the Missoula Drug Treatment Court. She's helped me tons. She's been on my side through it all. Hannah.
So I think she asked me to speak because we utilized the peer recovery coaching program when it was offered here in Missoula. And so as far as what is treatment court, it's a voluntary program set up for people who are high risk. So that means they've got a substance use disorder, they've got a mental health diagnosis, they're co-occurring, and they're high risk because it looks like they're going to recidivate back through the justice system again and again. And it's 1 year long minimum because it's kind of a numbers game. So when you look at treatment and recovery, it's almost like playing the lottery. The more treatment sessions you get to and engage in, and the more skillful you are, and the more recovery activities in the community someone attends, and the more sober friends that they have, the more likely they are to be successful in the long run. And best results are after 1 year, so that's why we kind of have a minimum 1 year standard. And I first heard about peer recovery coaching about 3 years ago when I was driving to work and it was on National Public Radio. And they were talking about a little blip about recovery statistics over the whole United States and this amazing thing that was happening in other states, not Montana, peer recovery coaching. So when I heard about this opportunity, I immediately jumped on it and asked if treatment court could work in conjunction with Consumer Direct, had the grant at that time. And suddenly it was like there was a missing puzzle piece that had been put into place because PRC, peer recovery coaches, they provide something that is not available in the community kind of anywhere else. Because of when you have a substance use disorder and you have a mental health diagnosis, you have needs that are just not being really systematically addressed by anyone else in the community. And so it increased the success of those participants for several reasons. So for example, our participants are required to attend a certain number of sober support meetings in the community. AA, NA, NAMI, whatever it may be. So this is really difficult. If you have an anxiety disorder, there's some barriers. Like not only am I asking you to leave your home, I'm asking you to go out in the community, go to a room of people you've potentially never met before, and then you're going to raise your hand and go, I need a sponsor. That just usually is really difficult to do. And so one of the things that a peer recovery coach could do is meet someone in the community. Get to know them in their comfort zone. You know, where do you want to meet? Do you want to meet at a coffee shop? Do you want to meet at the library? And then once they get to know them, they say, okay, here's your requirements with the justice system. What are your personal goals? What do you feel like you need to work on? And then they can go to a meeting with them. And they can kind of coach them how to get the most out of a meeting. You know, how do you deal with that anxiety as you're headed to the meeting? They can give them all those little amazing tactics that they've learned to like functionally get to a meeting and then feel comfortable. And then once that person feels comfortable going to support meetings alone, then they can kind of back off and work on a new goal. There also, the upside of an actual peer recovery coach is it's an identified referral source. It's a warm handoff for me. So I can say, you need to go to a meeting and get a sponsor. Well, that's like the whole NAA community is anonymous. Like, I can't call someone and say, did they show up? Did they get a sponsor? Are they attending? Whereas a peer recovery coach will say, we got to a meeting, we sat down together. They'll usually come into treatment planning meetings with me and say, you know, we identified this, this, and this as needs that we need to make some referrals for. They feel like they've got these things on their treatment plan taken care of. So let's keep making those goals and let's keep moving forward and making sure that we have the right services in place and we've got, you know, the right medications and we've got the right psychiatric providers. Let's see, the other things that really made it very successful was that it was a good sounding board. It was a human being in the community that they could relate to, that could kind of just mentor by example. They could demonstrate this is how you make decisions, functional decisions. When I screen people in the treatment court, I ask tons of really invasive questions. And one of them is, how many sober friends do you have? Usually the answer is 0. And so the beauty of a peer recovery coach is even if they don't know how to go out and make a friend, because sometimes those friends that they've had for years and years and years, they've been using together for years, they don't even know how to go out and make a sober friend. They wouldn't know where to go to even meet one. And so I guess that was kind of the hugest part, the hugest connection of having someone to go to help them navigate the return back to normal civilian life.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Anna.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I wanted to a little bit mention on, in my experience, I see a lot of, in my life I've known a lot of street people. And I've known a lot of people who go into jail because of their addictions or because of their whatevers. And they sit some time in jail, and you know, when you go into jail and you get clean, you want to stay clean, like it's like, oh, right? But you don't learn anything in jail, right? So when you're released back out onto the streets, you're released back into your same environment with still no skills, still no support, still no services. If we can get people in jail and introduce them to services before they get released back out onto the street, can you imagine how great that would be? Like, for the jails, for the streets, for the community, for the people. I mean, I think that's life-changing. I think that could change a person's life if they came out of jail with a purpose instead of like, here we go again. Because what do we know when we get out of jail? We know how to use drugs. We know how to survive on the street. What I didn't know is I did not know how to reach out for help. I didn't know where to find the help to reach out to. So, I want to introduce you to Crystal. I've been working with Crystal for almost a year, about 10 months, right? I've known Crystal a long time. And I watched Crystal struggle and go in and out and in and out and in and out and in and out. And you know, we've gotten to be pretty close, and I'm going to let her share a little bit about her experience with peer support.
I am in treatment court also with
Oh, here. Speak into that thing there.
I'm also in treatment court with Hannah, and treatment court's a tough program. They were putting me in different programs I had to go through and stuff like that, but I kept messing up and kept messing up. I couldn't get it together. And then, like, I was relapsing and lying, and, you know, I was doing everything so much that the one time I didn't, you know what I mean? They didn't believe me. I felt like, I mean, I'm just being totally honest, you know what I mean? I had no trust left. There was nothing left there. And I ended up, you know, going through peer support, and that's the best thing that has happened to me. I mean, all these groups and stuff they were going to, they were telling me to go to NA, I was going to NA, but it's different when you have a peer recovery coach, because it's somebody that you don't have to go into a room full of people and say, oh, will you be my sponsor? I don't know who you are, but, you know, peer recovery coaches, you know, they give you somebody, so it's like an open door, so you don't have to pick the person, you know what I mean? But there's other peer recovery coaches if you don't like that one, but it's somebody that, you know, you get handed to, you know. And they helped me immensely. I mean, like, when I did, you know, sponsors help, you know, too. But with, like, my peer recovery coach, Lori, she, you know, she fought with me when I needed to go in front of the board. You know, she helped me learn how to figure out how to present myself. You know, like, she's helped me with, I mean, like, so many different things. Like, every time I needed somebody there, not only was she there, you know, to help me when I needed support staying clean, she was also there with legal stuff, like helping me figure out, you know, like breaking stuff down, like when I needed a job, you know, and like when I felt like nothing, you know, nothing's gonna work for me, nothing, I can't get, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, Hannah and Judge Edwin and everyone was like totally awesome, but to my, you know, but I had lied to them so many times that I felt like, you know, I have to go before these guys, they're not gonna believe me. And Lori didn't do it for me, but she stood by my side. She walked through the process with me instead of just saying, here, you know, this is process, go through it. She stood by my side and walked me, you know, I mean, not in front of me, not behind me, but beside me the whole time. And that's what peer recovery coaching is to me, you know. I mean, they help with, like when I needed, you know, to go to a meeting, she came to meetings with me, you know, like, I could talk to her in her office, I could talk to her outside of her office, you know what I mean? Like, she was there when I needed her for more than, I guess that's my biggest point, it's like, it's more than just the use. She was there for me when I had anxiety, she was there for me when I, you know, with my doctors, like, didn't know how to talk to them and tell them what was going on with me, and like, and she was somebody I could trust because she's been there, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, in my, you know, like, when I was really addicted, I mean, like, you know, I liked Hannah, you know, I liked Jasmine, but they didn't understand. They, you know, they were addicts. They didn't understand. They were just, you know, picking on me. They were making me do this, you know. Like, but Lori understood. You know, she didn't, you know, I felt like I could trust her to, like, understand where I was going through, you know. And like I said, it's on more than one level. It's not just your sobriety, it's everything. I mean, my house, right now I'm doing really good. I quit utilizing my peer recovery coach. I quit utilizing everything. I quit talking to her. I ended up relapsing. I'm clean again. But I was clean for 10 months when I was utilizing her support. You know what I mean? Like, and I couldn't get it together until I got peer recovery coaching. And I was clean for 10 months with peer recovery coaching until I gave it up. You know, like, I don't know, I guess that's all I have to say is that peer recovery has did amazing things for me. I have a job, you know, I'm like stable in someplace to live right now. Yeah, I feel like I can move on, I can move forward. Even though I relapsed, I'm getting back into peer recovery coach, you know, like, I have somebody to fall back to and say, hey, you know, I may have messed up, someone that's not going to give up on me.
Thanks, Crystal.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess that's really all. Please grab some of these things. It's got a lot of information on these handouts, a lot more than my nervous self can explain to you all. So does anybody have any questions? Yes?
Well, maybe you testify.
So I'm testifying in front of the House of Representatives Subcommittee for Senate Bill 62, which is the peer,
I think it's human services tomorrow.
oh, human source, yeah,
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock at the courthouse, or at the Capitol. Yeah. Yes?
I'm interested in being a person sort coach. Does it have to be for co-occurring or can it just be for mental illness?
It can absolutely be for mental illness. We have at Winds of Change, we have 2 peer recovery coaches that work, that do not have a drug addicted background, and they've done great things. You know, it's the same kind of thing. I don't have schizophrenia, so I don't really relate to that kind of thing, but one of my peer recovery coaches does. So she gets to have that special connection with some of the clients that we work with. So it's for all avenues. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to be involved with drug court?
No.
No. Yeah,
I have nothing against that, I just.
Hey, we don't want you if you don't need to be here.
My other confusion is that this is obviously something different than Larson's.
Very.
Treatment it's not, so who runs your program, where is it?
well, I work at Winds of Change. I work under a federal grant. Do you know more about that, Bree? The grant?
No, I'm
Oh.
asking about.
Oh, so, actually, this is Brenda Desmond. She presides over the treatment court, and I think she's probably the very best person to answer that question as far as from the perspective of the justice. Oh, okay. There are different treatment courts set up within Missoula County. Ours is a co-occurring court. We also have a separate arm that is a veterans court, which is also co-occurring. And then Judge Larson's is a family treatment court.
You have?
My question is about funding. How are you funded now? And if this bill passes, does that give Montana the possibility, or Missoula County, or counties of Montana the possibility of garnering more funding from the feds?
I think it would eliminate more funding from the feds, is what I'm,
Where does the funding come from?
right now it is a federal grant that pays me.
Samhsa?
No, it wasn't through Samson. I was gonna grab the name of that committee, but I don't remember it right now, and I don't think you do either. Yeah. Yeah, it was a grant that was it was a 1.5-year long grant.
But the proposal that's in front of the legislature is changing the funding, correct?
It's changing the funding, so we'll be able to bill for our services.
Let me just add, one of the differences is that Medicaid does reimburse if it's in a treatment program. And I think a number of other states, especially Michigan, have been using peer recovery coaches within treatment teams for quite a while and using Medicaid reimbursement funds. So if we keep Medicaid and Medicaid expansion and a few other unknowns, there would be, with certification, the ability, I think, to get more. Being able to bill is very different than being with a federal grant.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons to push for the certification at the state level, because it authorizes, these people have been trained, certified, the Board of Behavioral Health will have to look at them. But the good news is there's no barrier for a prior felony record. You have to give evidence that you're in recovery, but your own experience then really counts.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to like, what's your qualifications? I was homeless. I'm a junkie in recovery. You know, I didn't have a job, and those are my qualifications to get the job I'm having today. Can't get that around very often.
As far as from what, okay, I as an observer, having sent people to peer recovery coaching, utilizing it, it was the most cost-effective and the most useful tool that was available in the community. I mean, you can send a person to a psychiatrist at what, like $200 an hour? That's part of it. You can send them to a therapist at like $80 to $120 an hour. That's great too. But there was no one to meet them in the community and help them get to those places they needed to go.
Yeah.
I actually got, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think that counseling and everything else was good. But I even went to an intensive outpatient and inpatient therapy, or not therapy, but what is it? Treatment, yeah. And I feel like I did way better when I got a peer recovery coach than I ever did in any of those. I went to inpatient, I went to outpatient, and I couldn't stay clean. The longest I've had was 10 months, and that was with peer recovery coaching. I mean,
And it is a certified position in 38 states already. 38 states. Yes?
So what's the avenue to become a peer support therapist?
So, right now, like I said, Montana Peer Network is offering training for basic 101 to become a peer supporter. I'm not sure how long it takes after it becomes a law to be certified, to get all that going, so I'm not sure about that, but most states require about 200 hours of training for peer support. When we were doing our training, that's what we learned. So there's quite a bit of hours of training to do. Montana, like I said, March 20th to the 23rd, Montana Peer Network will bring training to Missoula. And you can sign up at montanapeernetwork.org. There's some information out there, and I have some information here. It's a simple application that you fill out, and they'll make the selections. There's 30 slots right now, but it might expand if we get a lot of help or a lot of interest in it. Did that answer your question? Yeah.
Services of a peer recovery coach, time limited? Is it like you sign for 1 year? Does that get renewed or does it?
No, I don't. I believe
It's
it's.
for 90 days.
That was the beauty of it in treatment court, because we are trying to set people up with services that are going to continue after they leave treatment court. Like the whole goal is to never come back and see me again, except as a mentor or a peer recovery coach. And so that was you can go and utilize that as long as you need to.
As long as you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Besides treatment court, do you have other facilities that refer clients?
I've gotten referrals from a lot of, probation and parole uses us a lot. I've gotten referrals from the Poverello Center.
Any treatment centers? Clinics?
No, word of mouth. Yeah. Yeah. I saw a hand over here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, right now, do you have a group of people that are doing the peer counseling, and you have a certain number already trained up in town that are working with you? And like, I'm just curious, like, how large of a program this is right now, and are you looking just to expand the program with the training and this 3-day, 20th, 23rd? Is that just the initial training, and after that, then are you kind of scheduled then, if you get through that training, to continue training until you become certified?
I think, yeah. What was that first part of your question?
Do you have a large pool of people already doing this type of work?
When I went through my training, I went through with about 8 other people. So we do have other peer supporters in Missoula. Robert Howe went through training with me, and he does the Good Neighbors, which is a sober supported living environment for community members just coming out of the system. And he's amazing. We have Greg, who works with men coming straight out of prison to mentor them and to get them out into the world. I believe that Montana Peer Network now has over 800 members all across the state. So it's growing. It's small right now. It's small, but it's growing. And I think the more the better, right? The more people we can get trained and offer their experience, strength, and hope, the better. Did I see hands over here?
Well, I think it's a question. I was under the impression, from going to WSAA meetings actually, that Medicaid, Montana Medicaid will not reimburse for peer support. And that's one reason why, I know 800 is a big number, but it's not really a big number.
Yeah,
When you look at how many
right.
people we have in the state.
Yeah.
And so I am hoping that along with this certification that the Montana Medicaid program, because of course they can do it, but they haven't been doing it.
Right.
They haven't been willing to pay, and that would be a really great thing for them to, if I'm still, and actually, we just talked about it like 3 months ago. So unless they've already changed, which is possible,
No.
that needs to happen too, because they've been supportive since 2007 with these grants.
Mhm.
But then, I'm sounding so negative, but it's kind of frustrating to me because it is such a great thing for people. 38 states have done it and are doing active reimbursement with Medicaid, and we just need to get going. And I do really applaud the certification thing, because that is really gonna help. It's gonna be harder for people to say, oh, I don't know, we shouldn't be reimbursing for that. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I do too.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you. Any other questions, you guys? Yeah?
Isn't that what Hospital 62 is doing, is making so that Medicaid will pay for?
That's part of it. Yeah. Yeah. Right now, it's my understanding that this grant allows me to provide peer services without a cost to the person I'm working with right now. They can come and see me without having to worry about how they're gonna pay for any of it, and then I can connect them with services from there and help them get on Medicaid if they want to get other services through that. Yeah.
Wind of Change a nonprofit?
No, it's a,
Winds of Change is a nonprofit, Aleph is a for-profit.
yeah.
Oh, I'm
Winds of
sorry.
Change is a nonprofit? No, I think they're both for profit, yeah.
So if Medicaid's not covering it, the person being coached pays for it?
Not right now, not currently. My services are free.
Okay.
I get to do this, the grant pays for it.
And you're a volunteer? or-
No, the grant pays for me, but the peer that I'm working with doesn't have to. They get to work with me. They don't have to add, no out of pocket
Is
for
it
them.
by the hour or by, how does that work?
Pardon?
What, the payment is based on hour or?
I get paid hourly, but like I said, the peer I'm working with, they don't pay.
Right.
Yeah.
Questions? Yes,
Oh.
over there?
Dawn?
Are there any requirements to get on that list of 30 people to be trained?
No, not at all. You can go to Montana Peer Network. It's MT Peer Network, MT. And there's some information on that out on the table. And like I said, it's all in here too. There's an application online, you send it back to them, and then they'll contact you with more information. Yes?
Over there, I believe you have a question?
Oh, no, I don't, sorry.
Okay.
I had one real quick. So say you're online as a peer peer person. Would you have more than one person you're working with, maybe several? Two?
I have several. Right now, I'm working with about 30 people, 30 community members.
So as a volunteer, what would be maybe an expectation, depending on the person's availability, time availability, to work with one person, two people,
I
three
think,
people? And the type of person that they're, maybe, also I'm curious about the type of person you might be. You have a voice in, like, well, I would like to work with people who are just released from prison, who have maybe an addiction issue, maybe not necessarily a mental health issue, kind of thing, because I have more experience here and I can help them there better. You kind of match people up with people who have kind of some experience.
absolutely. Because like I said, what we do is we work with our shared experiences with the person that we're working with. So like, it wouldn't do me any good if I was trying to work with a cancer patient and I've never experienced cancer. I wouldn't have anything to offer that person. So yeah, I
I
want
just know that people relate to other people better if they know that that other person, their peer, has been through something similar.
That's that whole basis
Right.
of what we do.
So that, I think it'd be important to be able to match people up with people who have similar backgrounds and experiences and issues and stuff. And the thing, again, how many, do you see, like 30 people that go through the trainings and a bunch of them get through it? What would be, I know she asked, is there time, like a commitment, time commitment for people who are trained? You asked, give us a year or, you know, whatever, to pay you kind of back for that training. And also, again, what would be kind of the expectation as far as how many people you might peer advise? Like, you know, we expect you to have like it's 2 or 3 people kind of on your.
I think, I'm not sure how to answer that. I think that it's up to the peer coach, what they're comfortable with, I think.
It should be a one-on-one.
I do a lot of one-on-ones, but I also facilitate groups, like to teach them coping skills, or I facilitate groups on wellness programs and 12-step stuff. And then I work with them individually, and I think it's a basis of a long-term relationship with the people that I work with. I mean, you're sharing your life with them and you're sharing your experiences with them, so there's quite a nice bond there. Yeah. And that's another thing, like, I want to have that relationship and that bond with the people I work with, because I don't want to, it was really important to me that I found people in my recovery life that were going to stick to it no matter what, right? That they were going to be there for me no matter what, because I didn't want to be dropped or abandoned like I had been for so many years by people who didn't understand me and what I was going through.
I think there's also, there was supposed to be a person in attendance, but the roads were bad, that probably would answer a bunch of these questions.
So many questions, yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Actually, you're talking.
Yeah.
So how'd that go for you, Crystal, when you developed this bond that you just spoke of and shared a lot of your experiences, and then you used again?
Yeah.
And then how did you reconnect, and what was that? What made that possible for you?
Well, I guess because once you have a peer recovery coach, you never, it's not like a regular job. It's not like if I get, if I don't go to counseling, she quits being my counselor. You know what I mean? Like, or, no, you missed so many appointments, you can't go back. Peer recovery coach is really different than that. Like, if I don't see Lori, for 6 months and I avoid her for 6 months, if I decide to pop back in after 6 months, she'll be there for me. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, and that's what makes it different than like the other groups, like the other counselings I have, the other, doctors and stuff like that, because I know that it's like a job to them.
Yeah.
And that's what's hard, is because they get paid for it, you don't show up to your appointment, then, but with Lori, it's different. She doesn't, it's, don't get me wrong, it's her job, but it's not based on just, what she learned in books. It's based on experience, Like, if I, like, I can come to her anytime. It's not something that I'll lose just because, I'm messing up, or just because I decide to go AWOL. It's not something that, like, I get, like, oh, you missed too many, you're not coming, I can't see anymore, sorry. So that makes it really helpful because she's always there. It doesn't matter, whenever I'm ready to engage, she's there to engage with me.
And it makes some sense in terms of recovery being kind of on a continuum, right?
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense when people fall off and then get back on. And when we don't have services that go with that rhythm,
Yeah.
it's really hard then for people to feel engaged with the recovery.
Yeah.
Because you really needed to match that. I mean, I'm sure you, in your life, maybe had also experienced times where you were avoiding maybe the things that
Oh, yeah.
you a few things and a few appointments.
Yeah.
And so maybe that gave you an insight.
And that's exactly right. And that's what I get to share with Crystal.
And it's not always like, with treatment court, for one, I know it's, the treatment court can only be with me for so long. You know what I mean? Like, eventually I have to, you know what I mean? Like, that's the whole goal, is to get you out of treatment court. No matter how hard I'm holding on, you guys. I'm talking to Hannah and Judge Desmond, and she both, they both know, but that's something that eventually has, I have to graduate from. I eventually have to graduate from, when I was in inpatient, when I was in outpatient. Eventually your counselor, but peer recovery coach is different because that's an ongoing, I can have a peer recovery coach for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? It's not something that I have to, yeah, and that helps a lot. Something that I know is more steady, more going to be there. Because just because, I graduate from all these programs because I'm doing good, in 3 years, I might relapse again. And, some of these programs ain't gonna be there, but my peer recovery coach is.
I just want to add one more question.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm a counselor in private practice, and I guess I've really been struggling lately because it just seems like a lot of my people are having more trouble than ever before, in larger groups than ever before. And I wonder every day about what it's like to work in an agency and how people schedule every hour. And I just spent 8 hours filling out homeless applications for one of my clients. And the whole time I'm thinking, what would I do if I was working in an agency? I wouldn't be able to do this. And
Right.
I think what you're talking about is so exciting because a lot of times when I go to an appointment with my client, people are looking at me like, oh, you're the biggest enabler on the planet. And, I don't think that people really understand the kind of barriers that a lot of our people are facing, and all the fines they have to pay, and all of the things that they have to fill out, and it's just, people just don't understand. And you meet people in the therapeutic community that are totally unsympathetic, and it's very discouraging. So it's so exciting to come to a meeting like this and hear somebody understand what's really, I just feel really happy.
Thank you. That's awesome. I want to add that, we meet people where they are. Not everybody wants to put in the hard work that it takes to be in recovery. But if we can plant that seed and give them a little bit of knowledge, or open the door a little bit for them so they can continue on or come back to us when they are ready. And that's a big thing too. So, because we don't know how long they're gonna, we might have them for a couple of days, we might have them for a day, we might have them for years. It's up to them, really. So thank you guys so much for being here, and I'm sorry about the big confusion and
One more
mess.
thing, if you want to sign up, I'll make sure that everybody on this page at least gets the information about the training. So if you're particularly interested, we'll also add you to the PFR mailing list. But I'll use this list to do a follow-up because we apologize for Jim Haney and Melissa not being able to get here from Bozeman, thanks to Montana, as we planned, based on their schedule, not ours. This was their date.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure they will also try to follow up. So it's the Montana Peer Network that has this information. And you can apply now if you're interested in the March
Absolutely apply
training.
now.
Okay? So thank you all for coming and being here.